All right, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to the channel. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I'm going to be breaking down one of my favorite opportunities of the last week trading the US stock market. Just to give you guys an idea, I primarily only trade US equities. And so we'll just dive right in. The stock that I chose to break down of the week was COIN, Coinbase Global. This is a crypto exchange stock, and basically we'll just dive in through my perspective of why I chose the stock, what kind of setup was I looking at, and then scaling down to the actual entry and execution of that. As you can see, I have a few things written down here. So coin trade breakdown, what I named this setup, and then going into the actual trade and things like this. So first off, I started off just scanning for stocks that are up or down over 2%. And I'm looking for something that's trading more than one RVOL normally. And that just means that the stock is trading 100% more of the average volume on that particular day. So this is really what caught my eye at first for Coinbase. And then from here, once I have a stock that, makes sense for me to trade, whether it's got a crazy catalyst, everyone's got their eyes on it, similar to GME and things of that nature, or just something that's gapping up that has a large range pre-market, or something that has extreme relative volume, right? So these are things that I look at every single day to choose what I'm trying to trade. From here, I'll look at a monthly chart, which I was not, it plays a role for me, but it's nothing too important, right? Like I'm not going to trade mostly off that due to the fact I'm an intraday trader, but I always I have a monthly, weekly chart on another monitor. So I'll look at those, just take them into account of what's going on. But I mainly make most of my trading decisions and build out context from this daily chart, right? Which you can see up here for anyone who's new. And so we'll dive right in. The first thing I noticed about this was that the stock had obviously been beaten up very, very hard, right? And for me, this initially triggers in my mind an overextension setup, okay? And what are the clues that, make me even more confident in this idea is that, this is 4 days in a row, right? It's not like we had a slow grind down. I consider this a pretty intense downtrend, right? We're also quite far from the 5 moving average, which is this purple line here. This just indicates to me that, we're somewhat overextended, right? Stocks are kind of like rubber bands, so if you pull them too hard, they will snap back. What goes up must come down and vice versa. So in this case, you can just see we get far from the 5, we snap back. We get far from the 5, we snap back. This is a pretty common thing that occurs if you just go back in time. We get far from the 5, we snap, right? This here is super similar to what we saw on Coinbase, right? Very, very, very similar. Beaten up multiple days, far from the 5 moving average. I believe at the time from this first down candle and this low here, the stock was extended about 3 to 4 ATRs, which is quite a bit. So for me, those are the requirements that gets me interested in a potential bounce idea, right? I'm looking for some form of a shift, whether it's just a small pullback or maybe an extreme pullback to or near this 5 moving average, right? So that's really my thought process on the daily chart. And from here, I'm going down to the 5 and the 2 and things like this. Sorry, it's taking a minute to load. So now I'm on a 5-minute chart. I'm looking at the pre-market price action. I'm highlighting the pre-market high, which is this blue line here. Just something I want to take note of, and as well as this previous day high, okay? And another thing, the stock was gapping up about 2.4%, okay? So it's not like it was gapping down here to its previous day's low or pre-market low or anything like that, or overnight lows. So to me, that was interesting, that we were gapping up after being beat up after multiple days. No catalyst, but we do know the context of the daily, right? So from here, I'm just waiting for the market to open, and this is actually in replay mode if you couldn't tell on TradingView, but I'll actually pull up in a moment the live execution of what I was thinking. I want to note though that my live execution videos are not perfect because I'm looking at many different stocks, as you'll see during those videos. It's not like I'm just on Coinbase particularly. I'm flipping back through 4, 5, 6 different stocks at once. As I'm a very active trader. So keep that in mind. If we do a lot of fast forwarding, that's the reason, but I'm going to pull up the clip and we'll just dive into what I was looking for on Coinbase at the actual time of the trade. All right, diving into the actual trade breakdown itself, my overall thought process, what I wanted to see in pre-market, what I actually saw during the live execution, why I entered, how I managed, and things like this. So just diving right in, firstly, I want to say I'm looking at quite a few stocks throughout this execution. I'm not just sitting here looking at coins, so don't get confused as I flip back through charts throughout the video. I'm going to fast forward it and try to make it as clean as possible, but just keep that in mind, don't get confused. And another thing, I apologize for the black borders. I use a vertical monitor in the middle of my screens, and yeah, so there's just borders. I don't really know how to fix that yet, but in the future, I'll try to make it look a little better. But yeah, so diving right in, firstly, we got a sell-off off the open, which I actually preferred in my pre-market game plan. I had scenarios for both a drive through the pre-market high or a sell-off, and I actually preferred the sell-off because in my mind, it's trapping late shorts, which actually gives me a better risk to reward on this trade. Okay, so once I saw the sell-off, I saw a break over prior bar's high that was a strong candle that closed near its high. Okay, this is not like some weak bullish candle. This is an extremely strong bullish candle, which I love to see for this particular trade. Okay, and then we get a slow grind up. We're getting over the 9. We're getting over the 20 moving average. We're over VWAP. I like that. And I actually believe at this point around this red candle, I added 1/5 or 1/4 of my position size. I never just go all in a position, very, very rarely, okay? And I really never should. Normally, I like to add as the position goes in my favor. And what this does, it allows me to keep my losses small whenever the trade just decides to reverse immediately. Okay, so that's something that I like to do. It's just kind of a principle I go by. And, you know, over the long run, it actually helps me out quite a bit mathematically in my trading systems. So on this first candle, again, I add 1/4 and 1/5. I don't remember exactly how much. On this dip down under VWAP, I was ready to take a stop out on that 1/4 or 1/5, but instead we get that reversal, and that's whenever I add my full position. So at the time of the recording at 32 minutes into the open, that's whenever I began to add my full position right here. And yeah, I'll just play this out and we'll just fast forward, and as the trade goes, give you guys my thought process. Yeah, so again, at this point, I have my full position on, so I'm either going to take a full stop out of 1R, 1 unit of risk, or this trade's going to begin to go in my favor, and I can think about how to manage my risk and potentially, you know, cut that in half or a quarter, things like that. And I'm going to be using this fast forward button a lot on the bottom screen. Yeah, so I'm looking at other stocks, TSM, CORZ. But again, I'm going to try to focus more on coin here. Yeah, so I was getting involved there. So it just chops around for quite a bit. Again, I have 1 full unit of risk here. So if I had 500 at risk, I still have $500 on the table. And I'm just waiting, essentially, for this trade to go in my favor. It met all my rules. I did my job. Now I'm just waiting. Again, I told you guys I look at multiple stocks. Okay, so it starts to go in my favor here. At this point, I'm thinking about, all right, if this begins to, you know, make a move to a little bit of pre-market resistance right there, right before the open, I'll begin to move my stop loss up and take off some of the risk on the trade. In my head, all I'm thinking about whenever a trade's going in my favor at first is how can I manage my risk? How can I limit a full unit stop out, right? So if I have 500 at risk here, how can I make this 300 now, 200? That's always the first thing that I'm thinking whenever a trade's going in my favor. 1 second. Let me pull up. There we go. Yeah, so I'll fast forward this a little more. Again, looking at TSM. Okay, so see, this is when it starts to go in my favor. I'll actually fast forward it so you guys can see. Yep, so again, watching multiple names. All right, so at this point, it has obviously gone in my favor out of probably, I think this was like 10 minutes of drawdown. So it took a little bit of heat, but eventually went in my favor. And again, at this point, that little pre-market resistance I was telling you about, if we get there, I'll definitely move my risk up. So I believe I do that here. Yeah. Yep, so hindsight, I actually would have even moved it tighter. If I was trading this right now, I would have moved it right under VWAP. So 215.90 area, but that's okay. So basically at this point, what I just did, which is always my first priority in a winning trade, is how can I limit my risk, manage my risk as it goes in my favor. So if I had 500 at risk here, I now have 250, which is, half a unit of risk. I'm gonna fast forward this for you guys. Okay, yeah, so this really begins to go in my favor. I'll actually, yeah, let me fast forward it back for you guys so you can see it. So again, half a unit of risk on the table here now instead of a full unit, and this starts to move in my favor quite nicely. Yep, so at this point, I am 100% thinking, how can I limit my risk even more? I actually think I'm probably break even at this point. I don't remember. I know it's either right now or really, really soon where I just put my stop loss at break even. So what that means is if I had 500 at risk and I have $0 at risk, and I'm either going to get hit at break even on this trade, or it's going to go in my favor and, pay me. So again, looking at other names, CRZ, which was another really good trade for me on this day. Fast forward it. Yeah, so at this point, I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to get hit at break even, or this trade is going to go in my favor. Let me fast forward. Yep, that's another trade I was in, began to go in my favor. All right, so here's coin. I'm just waiting at this point to see if we can hold pre-market high. Fast forward a little more. Okay, here we are. Fast forward even more. Okay, so at this point, I'm thinking, all right, what are we going to do here at pre-market high? Are we going to hold this, or are we going to take out power bars low and maybe just do a smaller retracement down and go back into the range? What are we going to do? No reason for me to sell yet, by the way. I actually would prefer at this point, since the trade's not much in my favor, I would prefer to take a break even because over time, I know that this playbook itself and this trade plan is going to run a lot farther than this. So I would rather just let the trade run than, take all the profit off at pre-market high and get about a 1-to-1 or whatever it might be. Yep, so this really starts to go in my favor. And I'm still not thinking about taking profits yet. I'm just not, because I know over time what this trade is really supposed to do, so it's really not a thought in my head just yet. Yep, so it really, really starts to go here. Looking at TSM, I think I took a break even on this or right around there. Yep, and then CORZ, this was a great trade as well. You guys will see it naturally. Let me fast forward this. Oh, there goes CRZ. So I'll show you guys that real fast. This was a daily breakout on the higher time frame. So unlike coin was a overextension. This was actually a trend trade. Yeah, and this just worked beautifully. And ended up going to, you guys will see. So I'll fast forward this. Yep, so coin is still going. And at this point, I am thinking about taking partial profits. I never take off in full 100%. So what I might do what I will do is if price breaks apart or is low, I'll take out 25%, 30%, and just kind of wait and let it tell me what it wants to do. And for me, a prior bar is low. It's not like the immediate prior bar is low. It's whatever the range is. So to me, I think of candles as ranges. And, right here, you have that big green candle. These two red bars to me are in that. Oh, let me go back. These two red bars for me are within this candle's range. So to me, that's like one big range on a lower time frame. And this is really the low of the range, not the prior bar. So I hope that makes sense. Yep, so at this point, I'm just waiting. Just waiting for a reason to take some off the table. Fast forward it for you guys. Yep. And remember the context, right? Day one overextension, we're far from the 5 moving average. And when I say day one, I'm just meaning we're anticipating a day one bounce. Simple as that. We're far from the 5 moving average. We're, I believe, 3 to 4 ATRs overextended from the actual top. And some people might not say that's overextended, but from my experience, you'll get a pop back, right? And, it's not like you're just trading blindly off that. As you guys can see, we're confirming that thesis on a lower time frame in the actual trade itself. So keep that in mind as well. Yeah, so always keep that in mind. It's not about what's going on the 1 minute, the 2 minute, the 3. It's about the overall context of the trade and being able to keep that thesis in mind and think about the bigger picture. Another thing I want to note is whenever I enter this trade down here, I'm not just entering based off the 2 minute. I have a monitor to my right showing me the 15 minute, the hourly. I have a monitor to my left showing me the daily, the weekly, the monthly. And then I'm looking at the 5 minutes up here. You guys can't see it. And then the 2 minutes down here. So I'm making sure that the whole market is aligned to my trade, always, okay? I don't trade without all time frames aligned. I just don't. I've tried to do it whenever I was pretty early on in my career, and it's just, you might get lucky, but, over time, you're going to realize that you're just fighting, okay? You don't want to fight the current, you want to swim with it, and that's simple. So at this point, yeah, I'm waiting for, if this wick low gets tapped through, I'll probably take off 50%. Just because this is a pretty big move, and I understand that, again, no different than how we're trading on the larger time frame, the rubber band theory. It's the same on the 2 minute chart. Stocks will snap back eventually, similar to rubber bands if you pull them hard enough. Yep, so I'm just waiting still. I haven't took anything off the table yet. I'm not the type of trader to just, take things off, because I feel like it, or, I'm up an R multiple or a dollar amount. I really like the market to tell me where it wants to slow down or when too much is too much. This is when I begin to think about taking some off the table. And again, I'm looking at that wick right there. I'd really have to see us pierce it for me to take some off. Fast forward this. Hasn't happened yet. Yep, still has not happened. So at this point, I'm now looking at this body low to take a percentage off the table. Fast forward this for you guys. I actually think I took like a quarter or 1/3 off here as we pierced that. We didn't close, so it didn't give me enough conviction to take a ton off, you know what I mean? Like if we got a harsh close under that candle, like let's say we closed under the 9 moving average, that blue line, and we closed under that candle, I probably would take more off. Okay, so this is, I know we're breaking down coin, but this was CORZ right there. I mean, you guys remember seeing it early in the recording. Just waiting at this point to take more off. I mean, at this point, I'm thinking about taking profits, right? Notice at the start of the actual trade, I'm thinking about how can I limit my risk as much as possible. Now I'm thinking about, all right, how can I squeeze as much out of this as possible? So a little bit of a mindset shift as we get a little deeper in this trade. Still waiting. Yep, here's CORZ again. I'll fast forward this for you guys. There that goes. Yeah. So pretty cool you guys are getting to see that too. That was, again, a daily breakout trend trade. Pretty good stuff. So if we break that red wick on coin, I'm probably all out at this point. Or I think what I actually did was I left like 10% on after I took profits here, and I trailed it to like the pre-market high, this blue line, and I think I got stopped out of it after a bit, but most of my profits were taken like right here. CRZ. I think it, yeah, it just runs here. This is a pretty good trade, put it that way. Yep, so at this point I'm all out of coin, or at least thinking about how I can get everything out. And then I think at this point I actually don't even look at coin again because I was focused on CORZ. Yeah, I literally don't even look at it. Let's see. Yeah, definitely not. Okay. So this is the last clip. Sorry guys, again, I look at quite a few stocks. At this point I'm all out of everything. And again, I think I had 10% trailed, like right above this blue line, which is pre-market high. But again, my reasons to sell were, we're looking for a break of the actual 2-minute candle range. And we got that on this wick break here. And that was enough for me to take most of my position off the table. And yeah, so now I'll actually go back to the chart itself and just show you guys what the rest of the day looked like as well. All right, now back to the daily big picture chart. As you can see here, I mean, there's multiple ways you could have traded this. You didn't have to trade the way I did on more of a scalping intraday basis. You could have held to the close that day and you would have had a very, very strong move. You could have ultimately swung that trade for 2 or 3, 4 days looking for a test of the 5 moving average. There's so many different trades that you could apply to the overall setup and context here. Just remember that. There's not one right way to do it. There's multiple trades within a context, within a setup, and overall bigger picture. With that said, I hope everyone could find some value in this video and learn something today. Maybe you can take, some of the stock selection tips or the actual daily setup itself, or maybe some of the trade rules for entry, exit management, things like that. Maybe you could take something and add it to your arsenal. I hope so, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. I plan to be making at least 1 to 2 of these a week, just breaking down some of my favorite trades of the week. I actually had a really good trade on GME this morning after the whole Roaring Kitty SEC thing came out this morning. Today is Monday, July 1st, so you'll know what I'm talking about by the time this video comes out. But I had an amazing short this morning on that, so I'll be breaking that down over the weekend. But again, hope you guys took some value from this video. Go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Good luck trading.